Live from Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Christians in Nigeria join worshippers across the world to celebrate Christmas, a commemoration of the birth of Christ. Toll rises as Nigerian army confirms Wednesday's mosque explosion in Borno State that was carried out by Boko Haram suicide bomber. Pope Leo delivers first Christmas message, urges Ukraine and Russia to find courage to end war.
In business, Nigeria's power crisis persists with electricity generation over and around an average of 3,000 megawatts.
And in sports, Africa marks its first ever Christmas during the Cup of Nations, with Moroccan city residents celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. It is Christmas here in Nigeria, and citizens are joining in the celebration. We start in the Federal Capital Territory, where churches were filled with worshippers as Christians celebrate Christmas, marking the birth of Jesus Christ. Beyond the carols and celebrations, many faithful say the season is a reminder of love, sacrifice, and the need to show compassion to one another. News Central's correspondent, Blessing Ahibe, compiled this report.
As Christians across the Federal Capital Territory celebrate Christmas, churches are once again filled with worship, praise, and reflection on the birth of Jesus Christ. At the Family Worship Center in Wuye District and Transforming Church in the Gwarepa area, Christian faithful converge to thank God for the gift of life and to celebrate the true essence of Christmas.
Christmas is the best season ever. Christmas was planned for thousands of years, and it did come to pass. So Christmas is a time of goodwill, a time of peace, a time of joy, a time of sharing. The very, very best time of the year.
Christmas is not just a mere celebration. It goes beyond a philosophy. It's a conviction to know that Christ is Lord.
So I'm here to share gifts, share love, spread love, put a smile on someone's face, maybe yours, who knows. But I'm here to make people happy today.
God sent his son, which is Christ, for our sin, for the redemption of man. And we're glad because Christ came, and that's the reason why we're here today celebrating his birth.
Despite the challenges facing the country, worshippers urge Nigerians to remain hopeful, show love to those in need, while calling on the government to intensify effort to tackle insecurity.
One of the major functions of government as we celebrate Christmas is to ensure that peace flourishes in our country. And there can be peace where there is no security. So we want to also speak to the heart of government to ensure that from Borno State to Plateau, Langtam, Pangshin, Mangu, down to Nasarawa State, every part of this country, let there be security so that we can enjoy peace.
A lot of people are going through a lot in the world today. So please, let's be kind, let's show love, let's offer help where we need to offer help.
You are not alone. I think that is the central message of Christmas, that you are not alone. Even in this time, Jesus is with you.
For many worshippers, Christmas is more than festivities. It is a time to strengthen faith, reconnect with family, and renew hope for a better tomorrow. In Abuja, for News Central, Blessing Ahibe.
Christmas Day remains a season many Nigerians look forward to, a time to travel, reunite with loved ones, share meals and celebrate together. Across Lagos, residents share how they are marking the season and what Christmas feels like amid current economic realities. Placidia Ibuekulie reports.
motor parks across Lagos, travelers shared mixed experiences as they journeyed to different parts of the country to spend time with their families. While some described the trips as smooth and orderly, others raised concerns over cost and delays.
No accidents or whatsoever. And the traffics we had were mostly because of truck breakdowns along the road. So aside from that, the experience was fine.
It's just a joyful thing for me to be here, you understand? Because I want to see my parents, my people. Coming from Ghana to here, it's not stressful. Coming from Ghana, everything was just smooth, you understand? But once I get here to book a ticket that will take me to my place, I'm going to East Aba. It was very hectic, very stressful. First of all, I went to Maza. They say it's 72,600 to Aba, from here to Aba. But I thought maybe if I came here, maybe it would be easier. So when I reach here, they say that everywhere is filled up. There's no vacant, no space. Like, I feel happy to go and meet them, but because of all this stressful thing, I'm just feel tired. Even them, they have been calling them till they are tired. I don't know, Nigeria itself, but it's well.
Away from the motor parks, residents say this year's Christmas celebrations are modest. Many admit that the season has not turned out exactly as expected, but they say they remain grateful for life, peace, and the company of their family.
Like that of last year, like things are becoming way too expensive. Exactly. But we still have to enjoy ourselves in this country.
Well, I'm a Muslim. I just brought my child here to have fun. So there's nothing different. At least we are celebrating grace of being alive today.
Despite the challenges, travelers say the joy of reconnecting with loved ones makes the journey worthwhile. Several Nigerians also took the opportunity to send Christmas goodwill messages to fellow citizens.
Merry Christmas! Happy Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
While celebrations may look different for many Nigerians this year, the spirit of Christmas, marked by love, resilience and togetherness, remains strong, with many expressing hope for a better year ahead.
Resilience and togetherness. Let's talk more about the significance of Christmas celebration with the Director of Social Communications of Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos, Very Reverend Anthony Godonu, as well as lead pastor at Global Influence Continental Church Network, Shola Adebawo. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Merry Christmas, first off. It's Christmas Day, and one of the most celebrated festivals in the world. Let's talk about the significance. I'll start with you, Pastor Adebawo.
Thank you very much. Christmas is one of the most significant celebrations in the life of the Christian experience because it revolves around the personality of Christ. Of course, the Christian faith is named after the person of Jesus Christ. Therefore, everything that has to do with Christ is significant to the Christian faith. Christmas celebrates the birth of Christ, and it is the birth of Christ that brings hope to the world. Of course, that the scripture says, joy to the world, goodwill and peace among all men. So the significance of Christmas primarily is to celebrate the birth of the Messiah, the one who brought hope, who brought salvation, who brought peace to our world. And you would agree with me that there is nothing that we need more in our world now than peace, of course. And Jesus Christ is the embodiment of that peace. And significantly, this is something that Christmas really signifies.
Reverend Father, correct me if this is not right. Christians celebrate Christmas. The celebration is peculiar to Christendom, but it seems spread across religions. Do you know why this is?
Well, it is something that has always been there for thousands of years, where the Christian religion has this universal influence on the society, on the lives of people. So, as you have rightly said, Christmas is the most celebrated feast in the world, And the fact that it's also come within the calendar year, ending the calendar year that everybody that is acceptable to everyone all over the world, you can see that the feeling is like the year is ending, and because of that, you find the moment of festivities, people in the festive mood, and basically Christmas sets the tones for such a celebration all across the world. And I feel that the Christmas is something for everyone. As you have rightly reported just a moment ago by one of your reporters, even the Muslim is taking her children to the park, recognizing this moment of life, this moment of grace, this moment of blessing that Christmas has brought to the world.
Yeah, that is true. It was lovely to see the Muslim lady saying it was just another day, resilience and togetherness. Pastor, this question I'm going to ask the two of you, but I'll start with you, Pastor. How do you feel Nigerians could leverage on the celebration to embrace unity and communal living across board?
Thank you very much. Jesus Christ, our Lord himself, is a unifying force. And if you look at the configuration of the Christian faith across culture, that has gained acceptance among different cultures of the world and across different continents. And if you look at the way the expression of the Christian faith within the churches themselves is largely cultural. This tells you about the inclusiveness of the Christian faith. As far as the faith is concerned, there is neither Jew nor Greek. God does not recognize ethnicity in the sense of exclusivity. But he says everywhere, anywhere in the world where men honor his name, they're acceptable to him. I think this is a great example of inclusiveness that we can deploy and to eliminate the differences that we have. There are too many things that we indicate, that we identify as differentiating and separating us. The faith in Christ and the joy of Christmas, the peace that it brings, which has a universal appeal, should be a unifying factor across cultures, across races, across ethnicity. The time of Christmas is one time, it's like when it is football season, World Cup, now CAF tournament is going on. Nigerians would generally forget about tribes and ethnicities and social differences and unite behind the Nigerian team. A similar and even stronger in a spiritual sense is the kind of opportunity that Christmas provides. Generally, as humans at heart, we all want to celebrate and have a good time and live at peace. That common interest of all men, endorsed by our Lord himself, is a strong unifying factor which all of us should deploy as Nigerians and live at peace with one another, irrespective of our political differences, social differences, ethnic differences, or religious differences.
Reverend, your thoughts as well. How can Nigerians leverage this celebration?
Yes, as you must have seen and you must have heard different quarters, when we were growing up, the time of us was always a time of unity, a time of no religion, a time of no boundaries. You can see the Muslim child going into the Christian home to eat Christmas rice and chicken and all that. I hope and pray that we, in this age and time, we can actually bring this back into bear in our country, Nigeria. Knowing fully well that we are all human beings with red blood flowing through our veins. There is no human being with blue blood. We all have red blood that is going through, flowing through our veins. And for that reason, in Nigeria, we must desist from creating barrier. Rather than creating barrier, let us build peace. It is through this that we will be able to live a life of unity that we search for peace. And that is exactly what we need to do. We must be united. That the coming of Jesus Christ is the moment of union between the heavenly realms and the earthly realm. God uniting himself back to humanity. That is why one of the saints in the gospel will say that the Son of God has become the Son of Man, so that the Son of Man may become the Son of God. So it is the unity between God and humanity. It is the incarnation in the context of inculturation, God taking root in the humanity. And that is what we should emulate.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. And once again, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Coming up, Presidency debunks claim of Femi Gbajabiamila's replacement as Chief of Staff. That's after the break. Glad you're still with us. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Christians in Nigeria join worshippers across the world to celebrate Christmas, a commemoration of the birth of Christ. Toll rises as Nigerian army confirms Wednesday's mosque explosion in Borno State was carried out by Boko Haram's suicide bomber. And Pope Leo delivers first Christmas message, urges Ukraine and Russia to find courage to end war. In continuation of our retrospective look at 2025, let's take on the education sector. The sector hugged the headlines for most part of 2025. No thanks to JAMB technical glitches, the conduct of the WAEC examination, the federal government versus academic staff union of universities feud, and the controversial mother tongue policy for child education, among others. News Center's Omolola Ololade in this special report recounts the major happenings in the country's education sector in the year 2025.
For decades, Nigeria's curriculum has been criticized as repetitive, overloaded, and disconnected from global realities. Hence, an introduction of a new curriculum, few weeks to the start of an academic session, sweeping changes to basic, junior, and senior secondary education curricula.
Reduction in load is not just a function of the number of subjects, it's also a function of the content of those subjects, because what they have done is to compress the subject, but there's no assurance yet, because the details of the curriculum has not been released to show whether the content are reduced, streamlined, or whether the content even meets the requirements of the modern society.
Amid progress, setbacks remain. The 2025 UTME was marred by technical glitches, leaving the JAMB registrar visibly emotional during his apology.
We are conscious of the painful damage it has inflicted on the reputation of JAMB. As registrar of JAMB, I hold myself personally responsible including for the negligence of the service provider.
A more shocking development was the conduct of the 2025 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination, with English language being written in the dark in some parts of the country, a development experts say led to mass failure.
By the time you were kept waiting for an exam that is supposed to take place in 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock, and you are now writing that exam in the night, a whole lot of those students will have been subjected to emotional disturbance, and that will have led to a lot of, mass failures. All this happened. We have not had of sanctions. Yes, the normal Nigerian thing is to say we are investigating it, we have set up panel, but that will be the end that anybody will hear.
In August, the excitement about ASU not going on strike was cut short as the Academic Staff Union of University members embarked on a nationwide protest over unpaid earned allowances, non-release of University Revitalization Fund, as well as the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement with the federal government. 2 months later, the union commenced a 2-week warning strike.
As one that is part of the industry, one is not happy. Our union cannot be happy. Being poorly remunerated, our salary is nothing to write home about. In the last 16 years, our salary structure has not changed. So where is the motivation for many?
While lecturers say ASU's fight with the federal government includes fixing the deplorable state of Nigerian public universities, the Minister of Education says otherwise.
What we're seeing is significant reduction in the carrying capacity of each of these institutions, tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Now, we're witnessing significant deterioration of infrastructures, both physical and manpower, at these federal tertiary institutions. So, and if we do not act decisively, what we'll have significant reduction in the quality of graduates.
Funding remains a major challenge in Nigeria's education sector, thus prioritizing education by investing heavily remains the only solution according to experts.
University education is actually very expensive, and that's not the way we regard it in this country. So, and that's what unions like ASU have always screamed, that universities are underfunded. And it would seem that the federal government owns the universities, but in real terms, what the federal government devotes to universities is extremely small relative to what you need to keep your universities.
As schools prepare to write their first term examination and wind up for the year, the federal government reversed its 2022 national language policy, stipulating that the language of instruction from early childhood to primary 6 should be the mother tongue, while now adopting English as the official language of instruction from primary through tertiary education.
Our teachers are taught in English, and they are taught to teach in English. They are not taught to teach in Yoruba, or to instruct in Igala, or to instruct in Nupe, in Benin. So that is the fundamental issue. Reversing this policy, I think, will help us improve our output in terms of our student attainment. It will help us move forward.
Amidst these reforms, there's an agreement that Nigeria's education system has a long, complex, and urgent road to recovery. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
My colleague whose report just aired, Omolola, joins me now in the studio alongside economist, educationist, I beg your pardon, Professor Yomi Fawahimi, for an assessment of the Nigeria's education sector. Prof. and Omolola, thank you very much for being here. I'll start with you because the report is yours. A lot happened in education. I mean, you captured most of it, but which stood out the most for you?
Felicity, I'll say that, many of those incidents, and that's because the report was a long one, just, like we normally have, and then you have to take it down a bit to about 5 minutes. But, one of the things that, just like I said earlier, about, behind the camera was the jam register. Come on.
Yeah, I saw your reaction when that clip played.
How can we be talking about technical glitches in 2025? And this is supposed to be an exam that we do yearly in Nigeria. And then just about a week or two then you started talking about technical glitches, and then it affected students. This is something that they've prepared for, they paid for. And then you started talking about glitches onto the point that, it had to be cancelled. The whole examination had to be cancelled, and then you have to put your student under pressure. And then you're coming on air to cry. I mean, it's appalling. And then, I said this because this is just, it's just like a drop in the ocean. We have the same thing happened to WAEC. This is something that we write every year. Why are students still writing WAEC examination at night in 2025? And then we now talk about us competing with foreign counterparts, where they're talking about, education, tech, what was it called, digital education and all that, and then we're talking about, it's disheartening, Felicity.
It is. I agree completely with you. I don't know what your thoughts are, your honest assessment of the sector in 2025.
Okay, thanks for asking, and thanks for the great reports by a colleague. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
For me, one of the biggest issues about the sector is the fact that there is no sector. There's just a lot of different moving parts, that there's lack of coherence in terms of direction. If you notice that quite a lot of things that happened a lot in the sectors, in the areas of education where there was a lot of federal government influence. So whether it's a JAMB examination or a WAEC exam or NUC action or ASU, there were quite a lot of activities in the areas where the federal government was involved. But where you have the state and the local government, and that's a more critical area, that's where you're talking about early child, when you're talking about basic secondary school, when you're talking about vocational education, you realize that not much changed. Perhaps things even became worse at the end of the day. When you also think about the number of kidnaps that happens in Nigerian schools this year, then you are not happy. But we must not forget, like the brilliant report that was done, that you're talking about JAM, you're talking about WAEC. Let's not forget that a student allegedly committed suicide because of JAM. So the crying of the registrar was sad because it was unexpected, but a life was lost, and that's the one that was recounted. That life is greater than anything we could think about. Somebody died because of the UTME's cause that the JAM registrar later came to apologize that they made a mistake. Now, we lost a life in Nigeria. Let's also remember that in this year, too, we had a situation reported in the law school where a student in law school, I think in Yola, allegedly committed suicide, as reported in the media, because of some issues that came from the school. I am not aware, in all of this, think about these two suicides that were reported in the media. There is not one of them that neither the Minister for Education or the JAM or the Director General of the Nigerian Law School took responsibility for in those two instances. And those are the ones that were even reported in the media. So we had deaths, needless deaths of young Nigerians. We had a lot of confusing policy. If there is one word I'm going to use to describe the Federal Ministry of Education this year, it is confusion. Policies were made quickly or necessary. Everybody was in a hurry to make a difference. But one beautiful thing I must mention is the fact that the government itself corrected itself and said it's not going to create any additional university. Like I said, confusion was always setting. Immediately, not too long afterward, the federal government created a university in Lagos and claimed they have created it before. So that was a good thing.
All right. Let's just take a short break. We'll come back and I have more questions for you. I still have my guest with me. Omololai still with me in the studio. You've covered education mostly. What is your honest assessment of, let's focus on one thing, the technical glitches we had this year. Do you feel confident that we wouldn't see something similar? Has efforts been made from your assessment that 2026 will not have situations like we saw this year?
Okay, so Felicity, to be honest, I'm not confident. And I say this because, okay, let's start from the issue of, before we even go to the technical glitches, let's talk about the major problem, which is, of course, is funding. And then I say that because we talk about technical glitches, we talk about ASU strike, we talk about all of these things. They are all a fallout of the funding problem that we have in Nigeria. And I say this because starting from our, budgetary allocation, how can we allocate 7.8% to education? And that is a sharp decline of 8.2 that we had last year. And you talk about education improving, and then the budgetary allocation is nothing to write home about. 7%.
So it's based on that you feel that
it's a far cry from the 15 to 20% that UNESCO is saying that at least every country should, even 15%.
I mean, there's a lot of lip service to improving education.
And then talking about the technical glitches, really, one of my respondents, if you listen very, he did say that nobody was sanctioned. Okay, yes, the JAM registrar came crying and all of that, dramatic. nobody was sanctioned. And that is, the problem with Nigeria. If somebody was culpable and then brought to book, maybe, just maybe, we might be able, or if they were sanctioned and, punished for this, then maybe we may not have a reoccurrence.
Nigeria's education sector grappled with different challenges. We've highlighted some of them already. Which do you consider the biggest challenge facing the sector, and what can be done as we enter 2026 to make things different?
I think the biggest challenge is management capacity in terms of the leadership, coming from the minister, coming from the head of the various agencies, coming from the vice chancellors. At the end of the day, I think there's an overwhelming challenge in terms of capacity of the people that are responsible for those agencies, for those organizations, to grab their hands around this. One area that we really didn't talk about, and I think it's good for us to talk about, is that the number of schools that had problems in succession in terms of vice chancellors in Nigeria. We have never had it this bad since I started following education or being part of education. I've taught in Nigerian universities 29 years. There are universities that, because of either the ineptitude of the governing council or some major confusion, that had 5 vice chancellors this year. Some had 2 acting vice chancellors, one substantive, another. A good example, University of Abuja, right? We had cases about selection of vice chancellors getting to be resolved by the National Industrial Court, something that wasn't really happening before. So there's a question of lack of capacity to deal with it. So I feel the biggest problem we have, yes, of course, when we talk about the glitch, it's a big problem, but it's a question of capacity, like you brilliantly said. I think related to that is also this sense of lack of consciousness of vulnerability. If you remember, Felicity, when we had the glitch in JAM, we had this conversation, and you remember I mentioned it, that why is the next exam we're going to do? We're going to get into the same trap, and nobody will be accountable for it. And like I was prophesying, when that happened, did it not happen in WAEC? So beyond the fact that we have leaders that are struggling to grasp the complexity of the education, it's also that lack of sense of vulnerability. That is a balance that is either seen coming from the point of view of I know too much, I know what I'm doing, or some element of arrogance that doesn't make people listen and put in and get the right feedback. The third one I want to really mention, I want to really bring this up, and I try to bring it up every time I call the media to talk about reviewing the year, is what is happening in the early child education system in Nigeria. Please, listen, ASU could go on strike many times. It's unfortunate, but you know what? It is a product from those early child education system that will determine who goes to the university. What the research has shown is that the brain of a child, over 80% of this is developed in the first 2 years of the life of the child. In Nigeria today, you will not even hear the Minister of Education or any Commissioner of Education talk consistently about early childhood education. We need to put attention there. If our children are not learning at the right ages, we're in trouble.
You do have a very valid point there. In all the conversations this year, I don't think I've heard of any talk of childhood early education. But thank you always for your submission on tonight. Molola, thank you as well for coming to the studio and for the report. All right, let's. Let's switch now to Martin Street on Lagos Island, where the Great Nigerian Insurance Building, housing clothing and textile materials worth several millions of naira, has been engulfed by fire. Emergency respondents are still battling to contain the inferno as at the time this report was filed. Several adjoining buildings have also been affected, leaving many traders facing a bleak festive season. News Center's Victor Mbadike reports.
It's a bleak Christmas for traders on Martin Street, Lagos Island. Victims continue to count their losses after this building, the Great Nigerian Insurance House, was gutted by fire on Wednesday evening, significantly damaging at least 6 other buildings.
I said
bought jewelries and handbags. Yes. And I lost almost like 10 million. Yes, 10 million. If I calculate it. My shop is 2 million. Look at it. This is my shop. This is my shop. Where did I want to start from? I don't understand you.
What happened is that the Lagos government is very, very, very unfair. They don't know what they're doing. It started very, very low. At a time, it's escalated. And we are looking at it as something that we stopped. But nothing is done. Even the firefighters, they don't know what they're doing.
The way the goods were being arranged, the firemen couldn't go inside the building to fight fire as they want to do. So that is one constraint itself.
While some traders managed to salvage part of their goods, others said they lost everything within minutes.
I'm just coming. At least others bring their things out and not bring a pin out. It's unfortunate. Am I unfortunate woman being? This is a black Christmas for me. Will I die? Can I die? I have children and grandchildren. My grandchildren, I'm the one taking care of them. I'm a single mom.
This incident once again raises important questions about why fire outbreaks continue to occur, especially during the ember months, and what preventive measures are still lacking.
We usually warn that from December, people need to be a bit more cautious, people need to be a bit more alive, and people need to be a bit more responsive and responsible. The real causes of this one officially, we cannot say is this, but from preliminary reports, it's still all around carelessness and people not adhering to strict safety and fire precautions.
Firefighters who were still battling the flames as at the time this report was filed appealed to the crowd to give officials space to work.
The people around here were not helping. You know the Lagos peculiarity, Lagos Island market peculiarity, where the structure are bomber to bomber, and not only that, the people were carrying their goods from one place to another. The vehicle couldn't move. The vehicle who want to bring water couldn't enter.
With one of the city's busiest textile hubs now in ruins, the economic impact will be felt beyond Martin Street. How quickly the market recovers could determine how many livelihoods are saved. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Badeke.
Presidency has dismissed reports suggesting that President Bola Tinubu has replaced his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, with his Principal Private Secretary, Hakeem Muriokunla. The denial comes after several social media posts began circulating the unverified claim of a change in a Chief of Staff position. Some of the posts claim to have gotten the information from insider sources. However, in a statement issued by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Anonuga, on Thursday, the government described the viral claim as false and urged Nigerians to disregard it. Away from Nigeria to Mogadishu, which has held its first local elections in decades, marking a major step in Somalia's political transition. Polling took place under tight security with checkpoints, road closures, and heavy deployment of police and troops across the capital. Officials say the vote aims to strengthen local governance and give citizens a greater voice in municipal leadership. Despite security concerns, voters turned out to cast their ballot in a process closely watched by national leaders and international observers. Ukrainian forces have launched British Storm Shadow missiles alongside domestically produced long-range drones targeting key Russian oil and gas facilities. Ukraine has previously used the Storm Shadow missiles against Russian industrial sites that it says support Moscow's war effort. The Ukrainian General Staff said its Air Force struck the Novoshatinsk oil refinery in Russia's Rostov region on Thursday. The refinery is one of southern Russia's largest suppliers of diesel and jet fuel, feeding Russian troops engaged in Ukraine. And coming from that attack, Pope Leo XIV has condemned the devastation caused by wars, highlighting the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. Delivering his first Christmas homily at the Vatican, the Pope said conflicts leave behind rubble and open wounds, especially among defenseless population affected by ongoing and past wars.
E come non pensare alle tende di Gaza, da settimane esposte alle piogge, al vento e al freddo, e a quelle di tanti altri profughi e rifugiati in ogni continente, o ai ripari di fortuna di migliaia di persone senza dimora dentro le nostre città. Fragile è la carne delle popolazioni inermi, provate da tante guerre in corso o concluse lasciando macerie e ferite aperte. Fragili sono le menti e le vite dei giovani costretti alle armi, che proprio al fronte avvertono l'insensatezza di ciò che è loro richiesto.
We'll be back with business, sports and entertainment news. Do stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Looking at business now, passenger traffic between Nigeria and the United States is expected to decline once the U.S. visa ban on Nigeria comes into effect, according to travel industry stakeholders. This projection follows a recent surge in demand on the Nigeria-U.S. route, which prompted American Airlines to increase flight frequencies. However, industry players warn that the visa restriction scheduled to take effect on January 1, 2026 will significantly dampen travel volumes between both countries, reversing recent gains recorded on the route. We also tell you that Nigeria's power supply has deteriorated further, plunging more consumers into darkness as national grid generation fell to about 3,000 megawatts, far below the installed capacity of over 13,000 megawatts. The drop is occurring despite high tariffs for Band A and B customers and assurances of improved supply, averaging 5,000 megawatts. The Nigerian Independent System Operator attributed the sharp decline to the recent explosion on the Escravos Lagos gas pipeline and said supply should improve within 24 to 48 hours. Data shows generation fell as low as 2,652 megawatts, with Abuja, Ikeja and Eko DisCos receiving the highest allocations. Business news continues after this break. We end with this. The Budget Office of the Federation says Nigeria did not meet oil revenue targets in the first and second quarters, that is Q1 and Q2 of 2025. The office, in its Quarter 1 2025 budget implementation report, said gross oil revenue stood at 4.55 trillion naira in the reviewed quarter. The government agency said the figure represents a shortfall of 8.21 trillion naira from the 12.76 trillion naira pro-rate projected quarterly gross oil revenue in the 2025 budget. That's it on business. I am Likon Obanjo.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Hello and welcome to sports. Now, the Africa Cup of Nations is currently going on in Morocco, a predominantly Muslim country, and is witnessing a unique Christmas celebration. This year's celebration comes with a blend of football as the Africa Cup of Nations, which has brought fans together and also seen different people from every part of Africa. Our correspondent over in Morocco, in the City of Fez, Udoka Njoku, files this report.
This is the 25th day of December, Christmas Day to be precise. And look, Christmas here in Morocco is definitely a vibe. It might not be celebrated in most places, but of course, in some corners, it is surely celebrated. The likes of the Bosch Fairs, there's the Medina Suits, there's the Medina Market, now a couple of other joints that you can actually go to and still feel like you're celebrating Christmas. Now, I spoke to a couple of people, some Nigerians, some other Africans who came around to celebrate Christmas, and also mostly because of the Africa Cup of Nations, and they really did have some beautiful things to say. Let's listen to them.
I feel like new adventures are always needed. It's just nice, like getting to understand like different cultures. It's like, oh, like for instance, like us being in Fest now, it's just talking to people, interacting with like the population out here, just having a good time and just figuring things out. Like of course, like there's like a mini language barrier, to be fair, but like the people here are like really hospitable, like yeah, super nice people. So it's been warm so far, honestly, like not the weather, but like in terms of like the vibes, yeah.
Spending Christmas away from home, of course, carries a certain weight of emotions because I get to be away from my family. But then spending it in Morocco is also not as bad because I have made friends here that feel like family, and with my Christian community from my church, we get to come up with certain activities and organize some things just to feel a little more involved and still connected to Christmas and, spread the Christmas cheer.
It's not the same as celebrating it from back home, but it's also really good because, Morocco understands to say there are people who come from different nationalities and they always try to make us feel at home. Like if you can see at the mall, you see every floor you go to, you see something related to Christmas. And they really know how to keep us to feel at home. And even though we are so far from home, we still celebrate Christmas in a good way.
It's a choice that was made, just to see the Super Eagles play. So we are here, trying to cheer them on, show our love and support to the team, and also celebrate the season.
Okay, well, at home, you spend more time with family, you go out with friends and stuff. But here it's less dirty, let's say it's less dirty. We're just chilling in the cold in Morocco, in Fez. But it's a new adventure too, so just hope we enjoy it.
Well, for me, I come back home tomorrow. So for me, it's important to celebrate with my family. So this is why I'm here. So I'm gonna miss the Christmas Eve, but the Christmas I'm gonna celebrate with my family.
There you have it, hearing from those who have come to celebrate Christmas right here in Fez, Morocco. I'm also celebrating Christmas, although I would have loved to be in Lagos, the city of Lagos, where we're screaming Obli at the top of our voices. But I'm here in Morocco, the calm city of Fez, celebrating Christmas and also supporting the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It is from me to you, right here in Fez, Morocco. Udoka Njoku for New Central TV.
It might not be a dirty December, it's definitely an AFCON December. Many thanks to Udoka Njoku. And that's all we have on Sports Tonight. Entertainment is up next with Kate.
Tonight in the world of entertainment, the outgoing national president of the Actors Guild of Nigeria, Emeka Rollas, has issued a stern warning to members of Nollywood's acting community against using social media as platforms to air grievances or settle disputes. Rollas, in an official notice shared on Instagram, emphasized that the Guild will penalize actors who engage in online trials or publicly call out colleagues on social platforms, saying such behavior tarnishes the industry's image. He reminded actors that there are recognized channels and disciplinary procedures within the Actors Guild of Nigeria for addressing complaints and urged members to respect due process. Now, Atlanta-born rapper 21 Savage continues a strong chart performance with his 4th studio album, What Happened